Hello everyone! Today I'm going to take you around my container garden for an April garden tour. Now, April isn't the most exciting time in the garden here in Chicago, but there are some things that are growing and there are some tasks I want to take care of quickly. Just in case you've had similar issues, I'll show you what I'm going to do. So today I'm going to do the two rooftop decks. We're on this one, which faces west, and then the back one faces east. Once more things actually start growing, I will probably split it up into two separate tours, and the garage deck is currently a mess and nothing is planted down there yet, so we won't go down there today. But for now, let me start off with the west facing rooftop deck. And just to give you a little bit of an idea of the layout, so this is the door that is attached to my office, and this is how we get out to this deck. Right to the right is my flower cart, which I will be covering in plants. And then I have a bunch of pots and a garbage can over there. I have a pigeon house that I made for them that they have never used. And then over to, well, our left here, we have my raised beds along the side, and then raised beds along the back wall here. Now, I like to start the tour as if I'm just coming out into the garden. Down here, I have two roses. These are the Oh So Easy in Fuego roses. They still look green on most of the stems. We'll see if they actually start to grow and survive. I don't know if I have high hopes for these, but these are plants that I want to, if I do have roses, be able to leave them outside and not carry up and down. So I'm giving these a try and seeing how they do. This center raised bed here, which is from Grownomics, these three in camera view and then this shorter one are all from Grownomics. And this is where I usually grow my zinnias. I'm still going to grow zinnias again this year in it, which will be planted out again around mid-May. But I'm also going to add some other flowers for when my zinnias get covered in powdery mildew and I have to pull them. That way I don't have a completely empty bed. What is in here right now are some perennials and annual leftovers from last fall. So after I pulled my zinnias, I planted some echinacea, I planted some marigolds. I can't remember what else I planted, but I just left everything in here. Again, just in case anybody wanted to use some of the plant parts for the winter, I left it all in here. And what I'm going to do is see if any echinacea survived. If it did, I'm going to leave it in this bed and plant the zinnias around it. If not, I will just pull the root balls out, and I'll usually wait again until early May to see what survived and what hasn't. So I'm not planning to do anything at all with this bed until at least May. Coming over here to the left, then there is my table and chairs, and then that raised bed I just got last year. That's from Epic Gardening. That's why it looks a little bit newer in terms of the color of the wood, but all of these are made from cedar wood. The table and chairs I got from Wayfair like probably over a decade ago. If you just search for like bistro style chairs and tables, there are a bunch of similar items out there available. And then if I swing over from my table, next to the center raised bed is what will be my herb rack. So I'll have herbs on this plant stand, which is from Gardener Supply, and I don't think it's in stock anymore. And then I also have two plant stands on the side that I just got from Amazon. These stay out over winter. The one on the right is upside down because it kept blowing over in the wind we've been having. But once I actually put the terracotta pots with herbs on top of it, it will no longer blow over unless we have really, really severe winds. But I'm excited. I should be able to put my first herbs out, weather dependent, probably in the next week or two. This bed in the corner is from Epic Gardening, and this has become my natives bed. So I have in here echinacea, I have rudbeckia, I have prairie onion, and milkweed. Some of the plants got overtaken because that is an issue with natives, is that they grow really well. So I think it was the rudbeckia is slowly taking over the bed. I might dig those up and put them in their own pot, but all of these plants survived the previous winter and came back. So I'm hoping that they will again, but with the weather we've been having, I'm not expecting to see a bunch of green growth yet, but hopefully soon. And then on top of it is just a bunch of garden waste that I put in there in order to give it a little bit of extra protection over the winter, and again, for any animals that might want to use it. But my main hope with this bed is it just becomes a bed of perennials that comes back year after year, and I don't have to worry about planting more things in it. Now this bed here, this will be my Gomphrena bed during the season. Right now though, I planted cabbage and radishes, and I think maybe some kale, and the birds got to it. I know I just showed this in a recent video where I threw all of my seedlings that I thinned on top of it, but I mean, you can tell here someone has been munching on my seedlings. So I'm going to put some more in here today and then try to give them some protection. But again, this has been like the finches and the cardinals. My pigeons, so far, have not bothered anything in my garden. Well, it has started raining / snowing. I can't really tell which one is happening. Happy April, as we're still getting some snow in Chicago. But I'm going to keep going until it gets too heavy that I have to go back inside. This here is my little veggie patch. So I have 3 30-gallon grow bags. I like to grow my giant zinnias. I know I just said it's my veggie patch, but I like putting flowers in my veggie patch too. And my indeterminate tomatoes. You do not need a 30-gallon size container for one indeterminate tomato. So I also plant nasturtiums, marigolds, basil in there with it. But I just recently, as in like a week ago, upgraded to sturdier cages because I've been using, I'll show you the cages in just a second. I have been using cages that are not very sturdy ever since 2020. And as the plant gets taller, the cage goes more horizontal. And finally, after 5 years of that happening, I decided I should probably replace them. So this is going to be my first year using these. I think these are also from Gardener's Supply. So my tomatoes and my giant zinnias will be using these as supports. In fact, let me go grab the cages I was using. Here they are. I think they're originally from Home Depot, but you can see, first of all, how the legs are bent. Now, I think with tomatoes, they go into the ground this way, these cages. I think with tomatoes, because the base is more narrow than the top, that also contributes to it being more top heavy and bending over. But also, I mean, I can bend these pretty easily. So I would recommend, even if they might be a little bit more expensive, because these were probably $5 or less at Home Depot. If you can find something that's sturdy and cheap, fantastic. But I would go for some sturdier cages for your taller plants, just so you're not having to tie them together with twine halfway through the season, which also did not work to keep them upright. This pot here on wheels is currently empty. I don't know what I'm going to put in here yet. I am trying to use fewer pots this year, especially if they're not set up on irrigation, because as I add the garage deck, that's going to be more garden work, and I don't want to have as much maintenance up here, but we'll see how that goes, because I tell myself that every year and I don't usually stick to it, but I am going to try to stick to it this season. Coming through back here, this bed, which I planted lettuce and carrots, maybe put the kale in here. I need to go rewatch that video. This one, for some reason, only a few feet away from the other bed, does not seem to be disturbed. So I'm hoping they don't find the seedlings over here, although maybe I should try to cover them as well. But you can see here, I don't really see much nibbling on any of the seedlings. I do have to thin, so I'll probably do that in the next few days. And then, so these back here are the lettuce seedlings, and then the little ones that look like grass. Those are my little baby carrots that I also need to thin. We have my new tumbler compost, which I'm so excited to have this on the front deck now. So again, I have one on the back deck that you'll see in just a second. That's only a single chamber. I now have a dual chamber, and this one here actually has just a little bit of stuff in it. So I'm really excited to be able to have this and not have to carry garden waste through the house. Then here we have my 2 raspberry bushes, which are probably the plant that's leafing out the most. And I have had these for years in these pots. One of these I bought, and then I propagated a runner to get the other one. So 2 plants for the price of 1. I add compost. I'll show you that when I do that this season. I add compost every year, but I've never repotted, and they seem to be doing really well. So that makes me excited. And then the lowest raised bed here, which is also my oldest raised bed, still has the sunflower stalks from last year. So these will stay for my peas. And then once like late May comes around, I will pull these out and I will plant the same exact sunflowers, which are the Sunrich Summer Provence sunflowers, and they'll grow up and I'll do the same thing. So I get a lot of use out of my sunflower stalks. You can see my peas are coming up, and so far they have not been munched, which is very, very good, but I am excited with the growth. And a few days ago, because we got down into the 20s again, they were frozen. I came out, I touched the leaves. They were very hard and crispy, but they have survived. And then I don't know if you can tell, there is a little green seedling right there. I found some sweet pea seeds that I didn't know I had, and they apparently don't need supports. So I just threw some in there to see what's going to happen. And then my final raised bed, which is in the corner, right by the door. This is another epic gardening bed. I threw a bunch of root balls in here because I left a dahlia tuber, which dahlia tubers left out in Chicago in containers, I don't think they will ever survive. But I was like, you know what? Instead of just treating it like an annual and tossing the tuber, I'm gonna leave it and see what happens. I don't have high hopes, but I did throw a bunch of stuff in here on top to try to get some extra warmth. So yeah, we'll see what happens. There's nothing else in this raised bed right now that I expect to come back. I think everything else was annuals. So if the dahlia comes back, I will throw a party. If not, I will plant this up again with more annuals. I have these cages, which the ones on the right are actually pretty sturdy. They're a thicker bar than the ones I showed you before. And then on the left are my 19-inch cages, which I use for zucchinis, cucumbers, and all of my dahlias. And lastly, here is my hose. I will eventually, probably again in like 2 to 3 weeks, get my irrigation system set up, but this is where I hook it up to. And then we also do have electric sockets, but I don't think I've ever plugged anything in. So this is a look at how my front deck is going. I am excited to see even the littlest bit of green growth. We'll head to the back deck in just a second, but first I'm going to sow some extra cabbage and radish seeds and try to protect them from the birds so I actually get to enjoy some. So let me go grab the seeds and everything else I need. So this is my plan. I'm going to use one of the lids from the Jiffy Seed Starting Kit and this large plastic saucer to act as cloches so that hopefully I can prevent the birds from getting to the seedlings. I was going to use a laundry basket, but I think the holes in the basket are big enough for the birds to still get through. And if I use something that's transparent, I don't have to remove these once the seedlings start to grow because light will still come through these. So what I'm going to do is figure out what space these cover. So let me take the seeds out. I have cabbage and radishes. So I'm just pressing both of these containers down so I know where to plant my seeds. All right, good enough. We're gonna do the radishes in the rectangular area. And I'm probably just gonna use the rest of these, so hopefully this does work. Again, these want to be a 1/4 inch deep. I'm just making a line with my finger. Under here, this can be a little bit longer. Sprinkling the seeds in and covering them back up. All right, I'm gonna set this on and then grab something else really quick. So it is highly likely this will blow away on a windy day. So I'm hoping this should be hard enough. I don't want something too heavy like a pot that will crush the lid, but I'm hoping if I just set a couple of these, it'll stay in place. I'll keep an eye on it. If not, I'll add something heavier. All right, now we'll do some cabbage over here. I'm gonna make holes with my finger on this one. I will have to space these, assuming, again, the birds don't eat them. I will have to thin them, but this should be good for now. I do actually have some cabbage seeds left, so if something happens, I can plant some more. Saucer on top. So will this work? I don't know, but I will keep you updated along the way. I'm hoping that it should, and I actually get to eat some of my cool season crops. So now we'll head over to the back deck, which is looking a bit of a mess. I told you she was messy. I think I've mentioned this in a few videos before, but our air conditioning units are over there. I'll show you where they are in just a second. So anytime we need maintenance on them, I have to move everything that's up against them over here. So they were supposed to come yesterday because our air conditioning just doesn't work. And although we don't need it now, probably best to have it repaired before it gets really hot. So everything shifted over here. And then they didn't come because it was too cold, because April in Chicago. So now they're coming next week, but I don't necessarily feel like moving everything back just to move everything back here in a few days. And I thought about maybe organizing it a little bit, but then I figured I should probably just show you the actual state of my garden right now, and this is it. But there are some really exciting things happening, so I'm gonna tour you around this mess. I don't know if I'm gonna do any tasks out here right now, but I do know that I have a list of things to do. So let me show you all of this. So behind that fence are the air conditioning units, and the fence does come off somehow when they need to work on them. So I need to get everything that was up against the fence away, which the heaviest thing was this raised bed, which I'm gonna show you inside of in just a second. And I am really excited with all the tulips that are in there. I was planning to leave this raised bed here, but then still move it in like the late spring, early summer. And that's still my plan, but I don't know if I want to move it back or not. But my main reason for putting it over there was so I could see the tulips through the window, because I'm standing right in front of the door where you come out. So this is now over here. We have my furniture all shoved together. This rug that I'm probably going to get rid of because there are holes in it, and I've had it also for over a decade. I have grow bags on top, which are empty. I have grow bags with soil, but no plants in them. These brown grow bags will be my dahlia border back over here when I get everything maneuvered around. This large pot, I actually did throw some poppy seeds in, and I see some little tiny green seedlings that have not been found by the birds. So I'm hoping to have a pot full of red poppies. We'll come around this way first. I have my brooms. I have a tub full of old potting soil, which I'm going to try to get downstairs to the garage deck. I can't carry that on my own. We'll see how and when that happens. My bucket planter, which went against this wall last year, I might move it just slightly this year. And this bucket planter is going to be filled with petunias. And assuming they don't all die or get eaten by budworms, photos of it will be in the 2026 Proven Winners Gardener's Idea book. So I'm very excited about that. Back here, oh, I did make some changes, I think, since the last time I was out here with you. All of these, which are mostly hydrangeas, or all hydrangeas, were in that large greenhouse. But because I wanted the tulips covered, I took off the greenhouse from here, picked it up, and carried it over there. I thought it was going to be as simple as like picking up and dropping, but no, the frame fell apart while I was carrying it over. So I did put the frame together again. So what I think I'm going to do for this coming fall/winter is get another one of these longer greenhouses to put on this side. These will stay covered all winter. Use this one again on the tulips the entire winter instead of tarps. And I think that will work out really, really well. Again, I use the greenhouses a little bit for extra warmth, but mostly so that the soil doesn't stay too wet. So right now I have 12 plants up here. That is way more than I need, but a lot of these are the more compact hydrangeas. So some of them I do see signs of life on, like the green growth happening down there. There is a little bit of green growth in the center of that one. Some of them have buds swelling with a little bit of green, so I am seeing signs of life, which is good. And assuming we don't have a huge cold snap, I think these will have survived the winter. These boxes up here have soil in them, but no plants. I do think I'm not going to use as many this year. Again, trying to narrow down the amount of containers that I'm going to use. So I don't know if I'm going to use these 2 white flower boxes, but let's see if I can get through my plants to show you what's going on in these raised beds. This whole row right here does have 3 raised beds inside of it. They all have tulip bulbs and daffodil bulbs and some other bulbs. I'll go over which ones I think have survived and haven't in just a second. But covering them has seemed to be the answer to stop them from dying over winter. And I mean covering them the entire time. I did not water these in. I did not water them at all over winter. They haven't gotten any rain and they are still alive. So let's stick our heads in. This is the first bed, and look, I have tulips. I don't know if I've had them get this large before. Usually the bulbs have rotted much earlier, so I am so excited to see this amount of growth. There's also that middle bed back there. Again, same thing, a lot of really tall tulip sprouts. And then before we head over to the third raised bed, I did try to overwinter my mints in the greenhouse. I don't know if they all survived, but I do see some green in that middle one. I would love if these came back because these are all different flavors of mint, and I did not reorder all of the flavors, just my favorite ones, hoping that some of these survived. So I'll keep you updated on how these do. Now for what I am most excited for in here. So this is the raised bed from Cedar Planters, which they sent me, and then I purchased a greenhouse and a cover. This is the solution to my tulip bulb problems. I wish I had all my beds like this with custom-made greenhouses for them, but I don't. So that's why I am using whatever I can to kind of create the same effect. But I planted almost 200, some were rotten, I think 197 tulip bulbs, all in here, basically right next to each other. And let me open it up for you. Look at all my tulips. They're alive. They're right next to each other. I have a bed full of green. I will take you up close in just a second, but I also do see some that are starting to form flowers. This was a mix of a bunch of different colors, so I don't know what's it's gonna turn out to be, but I'm very excited. Look at them. We have flowers. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, this was so worth it. And I'm very glad, because I love tulips, but I'm very glad that I've finally found a solution to my tulip problems. Look how full this bed is. I covered them back up just so they don't get too chilly, but I think that's everything on the back deck. Now for these tulips and the other tulips, I don't leave them. I either treat them as annuals or I will replant them down in the parkway to see if they do grow back, and some of them have, which is really exciting. But if I left the tulip bulbs in here with all the water I'm giving the summer annuals, they would also definitely rot. So I can't do that, unfortunately, but for me, it is worth buying new tulip bulbs every season. And again, I don't have that much space. It's not like I'm buying thousands of tulips. So this is really exciting. If it didn't work this year, I was going to give up. But to be able to see some spring color is going to fill me with so much joy. So that is going to be everything for my decks. I'm hoping that by the next garden tour in May, they will look a little bit more put together. But that's my main focus right now, other than keeping my seedlings alive inside, is getting things in their proper spots, seeing what I can get rid of, what I'm going to keep, how I can minimize the gardens up here. So yeah, I'll take you along on this journey with me. Let me know if you have any other questions, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.